What is an array in C language? Array in C is one of the most used data structures in the C programming language. It is a simple and fast way of storing multiple values under a single name. An array in C is a fixed size collection of similar data items stored in a memory locations. It can be used to store a collection of primitive data types like the integer, character, and float, and also derivative and user-defined data types such as pointer and structures. This is an array in C programming language. The array is like a table. It have a column. Each column have an array index. Start with 0 here and end with 5. And this is the array element. Each element have an index. Like here, the element 4 have an index 1. 12 have an index 3. This is the array in the C programming language. The array declaration. In C, when we have to declare the array like any other variable before using it, we can declare an array by specifying the name, type of the integer, type of the element, it can be integer, character, or float, and the size of this array. When we declare an array in C, the compiler allocates the memory block of the specified size of the array name. Look at the syntax of the array declaration. First, we have the data type. If the array contains characters, integer, float, number. Second, we have the array name. For example, integer A or integer X, integer Y. And we have the size of the array. Here in this array, the size is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 6. The size, or the second way to declare the array, when we have the array in multi-dimension, we put the size 1, size 2, and size 3 for the size n. N is the number of the dimension. This is how to declare the array in C programming language. We need to see this in the example. Now this is the array. Here the array have the name ARR and a size 5 equal to 5. Size of this array is 5. This array is in memory allocated. Here we have the array element and the array index. Now let's see this example to show how to declare an array in C programming language. We have the data type here integer, array name is ARR integer, and the size is 5. The second array, it's contain character, data type is here character, array name is ARR char, and we have the size of this array is 5. Okay guys, now let's talk about the C array initialization. Initialization in C is the process to assign some initial value to the variable. When the array is declared or allocated memory, the element of the array contains some garbage, so we need to initialize the array. There are a multi-way to initialize an array. First way, we have an array initialization with declaration. With declaration, we have the syntax like here. First, we put the data type, like for example, data type. For example, an integer. Array name, array. With the size, this array contain, for example, 4 elements. Is equal to, let's give this array 4 elements. We put the element between the braces. For example, 1, 2, 3, 4. This is an array, integer. It contains 4 elements, 1, 2, 3, 4. The first element is 1. The index of this element is 0. The second element is 2. The index of this element is 1. The third element is 3. The index of this element is 2. Now, the second way, we can initialize an array with declaration, without size. Like this, for example, integer a also. I don't need to put a size here. This array contains 1, 2, 3, 4. Also 4 element like 1. But I don't put the size here. And the third way to initialize an array is using the for loop. Like this also. To put for, we have a condition. Integer, for example, I is equal to 0. I is less than to n. And I plus plus. And you open the braces and we put the array name. I here is the size of this array equal to value. This is how to initialize an array with 3 ways. We can initialize the array with declaration but without size, and using the for loop. Initialization with declaration. In this method, we initialize the array along with its declaration. We use initializer list to initialize multiple elements of the array. Initialized list is the list of a value closed with the braces separated by a comma. Like here, this is the syntax: data type, array name, size, value 1, value 2, value n. Second way, array initialization with declaration without size. The size of the array in this case is equal to the number of the elements present in the initializer list, as the compiler can automatically deduce the size of the array. And the third way is array initialization after declaration using loops. We can use for loop, while loop, or do while loop to assign the value of each element of the array. Here we have for integer I equal to 0, I is less than to n, I plus plus, and here is the size, array name I, and value I. Now the access array element. We can access any element of the array in C using the array subscript operator and the index value I of the element. Like the syntax here, we have the array name and the index. For example, A5. Like here, the first element, the index of the first element is 0, and the array name here is ARR. The access array element is ARR0. In this element, element number 4, the array name is the array variable name is ARR, and the index is 3. And the last element have the index 5. The access array element here is ARR5. Note that one thing to note is that the indexing in the array always starts with 0. It means the first element is at the index 0 and the last element is n minus 1. Here the element 6 element, n equal to 6. 6 minus 1 is 5. where n is the number of the element of the array. This is how to access an array element. We put the array index with the array variable, like here. This is an example. We have here an array declaration. It's an integer, contain 5 elements. Here the access element, we put arr, array name, and the index number 2, 0, 1, 2, it's 35. The array index 4, 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 55, and the array index 0 is 50. Now update array element. We can update the value of the element at the given index I in a similar way to accessing an element by using the array subscript operator and the assignment operator. The syntax is array name I equal to the new value. This is how to update the array element. We put the array name I, the index, and the new value. Now the one-dimension array. The one-dimension array, also known as 1D array in C, are those arrays that have only one dimension. The syntax of this array is array name and the size. This is the array of one dimension. It contains one table. And this is an example of the array of one dimension. Array is contain one table, one column, and have 5 elements. But two-dimension array of two dimension or 2D array in C is an array that has exactly 2 dimensions. They can be visualized in front of rows and columns organized in a 2-dimensional plan. This is the syntax of the array in 2 dimensions. We have size 1 and size 2. Also like this example. Now let's do this exercise. Write a C program to declare, initialize, and input element in array. Let's see how to solve this problem. First, let's start with hashtag include studio.h integer main. First of all, I need to declare the array. Here the array is an integer, contain an integer array A, and the size. I don't need to put the size now. Put the size. The user put the size himself. Second step, I need to define I and M, and here the size of the array. Second step, I need to input array size. I need to give a size of this array by the user. Let's tell the user to give me a size of this array using the printf function. Printf enter size of this array. Scanf %d because it's an integer, and n. The first step, input element size, is done. The user give me a size of this array. Second step, I need to input the element in this array. Input element in this array. Printf also, I need to tell the user to give me an element, enter element in the array. I need to use here the for loop. For I equal to 0, the index starts with 0, and I is less than n, and I plus plus. Scanf %d okay. Here in this lines, I give the array an element entered by the user. Now, second step, I need to print the element of this array. Let's see how to print all elements of this array. Printf also, elements in array are for I equal to 0, I also less than to n, and I plus plus. Here also printf %d and array name with size. And finally, return 0. This is a C program to declare initialized input element in this array. In the second step, I need to define the array with the size. I need to tell the user to give me a size of this array, and I need to tell the user also to give me an element of this array. And finally, I need to print the array on the screen. Exercise 1. Write a C program to print all the negative elements in an array. In this question, in this problem, first of all, I need to declare the array. It's an integer array, and the array have a size. Second step, I need to define I, because I need to use the for loop, and I need to define the size of this array. It's n. Later, I need to tell the user to give me the size of the array using the printf and scanf. Next step, I need to use the for loop to input elements in the array. For I is equal to 0, I is less than n, and I plus plus. In the for loop, I need to use also the if statement to find the negative element in this array. If the array is less than 0, I need to print this element because it's a negative element. And finally, return 0. Let's write all the code to see the result. So let's start first. Hashtag include studio.h integer main and open the braces. First, let's declare the array I and the size. Integer array size, integer I and n. Now let's input size of the array. Printf, enter size of the array scanf %d and n. Now let's input the element in this array. Input element of this array. Printf element or enter element in array. Scanf also %d because it's an integer. Or no, here we don't need to put %d. Enter element in this array. In the scanf, I need to put the scanf in the for loop. Let's put here the for loop for I equal to 0, I less than to n, and I plus plus. Now let's put the scanf %d and the array I here is the size or the index. Now I need to print all the negative element in this array. Printf all negative elements in this array are let's use here also the for loop second time, and in the for loop here I need to use the if statement. For I equal to 0, I is less than to n, and I plus plus. Open the braces and let's use the if statement here. If the array is less than to 0, the element is negative. Printf %d array I. Here to find, I used if to find if the element is negative or not. And finally, return 0. This is our C program using the array the arrays to print all the negative elements in this array. First of all, I define the array and the size of this array. Second, I need to tell the user to give me a size of this array, and I tell him to put the element of this array. Later, I use the for loop and the if statement to find if the element of this array is negative or not. If the element is negative, I need to print it on the screen. Exercise 2. Write a C program to find the sum of the array elements. So first of all, like the exercise 1, I need to define the array with the size. I need to define also integer I need to define n, the size, and the sum. Next step, I need to tell the user to give me the size of this array, and I need to tell him also to input the element on this array. Later, and the last step, I need to use the for loop to add each array element to sum. I need to use this code. I need to write for I equal to 0 and I is less than to size n and I plus plus, and I need to use this formula, sum equal sum plus array I here is the size of the index, for the element. It starts with 0 and ends with n plus n minus 1. The index starts with 0 to n minus 1. For example, if I have an array that contains 5 elements, the index of the first element is 0 and the index of the last element is 5 minus 1 is 4. Let's write the code, and let's start with hashtag include studio.h integer main and open the braces. Let's define the array and let's define integer I, n, and the sum. Now let's input size of the array and printf. Let's tell the user to give me the size. Enter the size of this array. Scanf %d and m. Now let's input elements in this array. Input element on this array. Printf also. Enter elements in the array. Now I need to put this scanf on the for loop. For I equal to 0, I less than n, and I plus plus. Scanf percentage d and array I. Now let's add each array element to sum. And let's use the for loop to calculate the sum of the element for I equal to 0, I less than n, and I plus plus. Sum equal sum plus array with the index. Here we can put another formula to the sum. We can write, for example, sum plus plus equal to array with the index. It's the same. This formula is the same of this. And finally, printf sum of all elements of array is equal to percentage d sum. Here I print the sum on the screen and finally return 0. This is our C program to find the sum of the array element. First, I need to define the array, the size, and the sum. Second step, I need to tell the user to give me the size of this array, and I need to tell him to input the elements of this array. And later, I need to find the sum using the for loop, and I print it on the screen. Now let's see how this formula works. I need to give you an example to see how the for or sum equal to sum plus array work. I need to give you an example. I need to give you an array. This array have this element 1, 2, 3, and 4, and I need to calculate to use this formula. First step, he calculate sum equal 0 plus the array with the first index 0. It's mean why we start in 0, because in the for loop I start I equal to 0, I is less than to the size. I start with 0, and the array with the index 0, I start with the first element in this array. It's equal to 0 plus 1 is equal to 1. Second one is sum equal to 0, now 1 plus the array with the index 1 is equal to 1 plus the array that have the index 1 is 2. It's 1 plus 2 equal to 3. Now sum equal 2, 0, 1. Now I equal to 3. Plus the array that have the index 2 is equal to 3 plus the array that have the index 2 is 3 is equal to 6. And finally sum equal to 6 plus the array that have the index 3 is equal to 6 plus array that have index 3 is 4 is equal to 10. This is how this formula works. It starts with the index 0 and ends with the index n minus 1. Now exercise 3, write a C program to find the maximum and minimum in an array. First of all, like all the exercise, I need to declare the array, the size, the maximum, minimum, and the size of this array. Integer array size. I need to declare the maximum, minimum, I, and the size. Second step, I need to tell the user to give me the size of this array, and I need to tell him to input the array elements. Later, I need to find the maximum and the minimum. I need to use the for loop. For I equal to 1, I start here with 1. I less than size and I plus plus. And I need to use in the for loop the if statement. If the array with the index I is greater than maximum, the maximum is the array I. And if the array I is less than to minimum, the minimum is equal to array I, and later I need to print the maximum and the minimum on the screen. Let's write the code to show how to find the maximum and minimum, and let's start with hashtag include studio.h and integer main. Now let's define the array. Integer I, max, min, and size. Now input the array size, printf, enter the size of the array, scanf, %d, and size. Now let's input the array element. Printf, enter the element of this array, and I need to use the for loop, and I need to put the scanf in the for loop. For I equal to 0, I is less than to size, and I plus plus. Scanf percentage %d and array with the index I. Now I need to tell the compiler that the first element in the array is a maximum and minimum, like this. First element as maximum and minimum. Max is equal to array that have the index 0, and the minimum also. Now let's find the maximum and the minimum. Using the for loop and the if statement. Let's start with the for. For I equal to 1, I less than size, and I plus plus. Now the if array with the index I is greater than maximum, the maximum is the array that have the index I. I find the maximum. Now let's find the minimum. Also, I need to use the if statement to find the minimum. If the array with the index I is less than to minimum, minimum is equal to array that have the index I. Now let's print the maximum and the minimum. Printf maximum element is equal to percentage %d and max. Printf the same for the minimum. Minimum element is equal to percentage %d minimum, and finally return 0. This is our C program to find the maximum and minimum in an array. First, I need to define the array and the size. I need to define the maximum and minimum. I need to tell the user to give me the array size and to input the array element. Later, I need to find the maximum and minimum using the for loop and the if statement. And finally, I need to print the result on the screen. Write a C program to count the even and the odd element in an array. First of all, I need to define the array with the size. Next, I need to define the size, the even, odd, and the I integer. Later, I need to tell the user to give me the size and to input the element of this array. Later, I need to find the even and the odd element using the for and the if statement. Using the for loop, I need to put I is equal to 0, I less than size, and I plus plus. And if the array with the index I modulo 2 is equal to 0, the element is even, and else the element is odd. And finally, I need to print the solution on the screen. Let's write the code to see the result, and let's start with hashtag include studio integer main and open the braces. Now let's declare the array and the size and the even and odd. Integer array with size, integer I, odd and even, and also we have the size. Now let's input size of the array. Printf, enter the size of the array, the size of the array, scanf, and %d, because it's an integer, and size. Now input the array element, input array element, printf, enter the element, for I equal to 0, I less than size, I plus plus, scanf, %d, and array with an index I. Now, like the exercise 3, I need to put the 0 is the even and the odd element. Even element is equal to 0, and the odd element also is equal to 0. Now let's use the for loop and the if statement to find the odd and the even element. For I equal to 0, I less than size, and I plus plus. If the array that have the index I modulo 2 is equal to 0, here the number or the element is even, now else the number is odd. Now let's print the even elements and the odd elements on the screen. Printf total even elements %d and even. Printf also total odd element is also %d and odd. And finally return 0. And this is our C program to find the even and the odd element in an array. First, I need to define the array, the size, the odd and even. I need to tell the user to give me the size and the array elements. And finally, I need to use the for loop and the if-else statement to find if the number is even or odd. And finally, I need to print it on the screen.